Hello, hello. Welcome to SEO UnMasked, episode number 71 on May 30th, 2019. Thanks for joining us over lunch. I'm Garrett Groff.
I'm Vin, and I exist.
And I'm Steve Brownlee.
How do you know that you exist?
That's a conversation not for the show.
I'm not convinced he exists.
Yeah, I'm actually just a torso. I don't even have legs. So what's going on, boys?
Oh, same shit as usual.
Yeah, just we've had to bring a bunch of new people on board, getting them trained up at the minute, setting up a whole new team, partly to, well, actually two new teams, one to deal with the expansion of our EgoBait service, and one just to improve and expand our regular outreach stuff. So quite a big project, getting everyone up to speed. So fun times. It'll be worth it once they're all up and running.
I think it's the time of the year because we saw some attrition in our team too, just like all in the same week. Where just like people that have been with us for years, they're like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do something else." And we're like, "Okay." So
yeah, I mean, it's not so much attrition. It's all about kind of new offerings and expanding products and stuff. It's just left us without enough people, so
yeah,
we had to embark on a training mission. So I mean, they're existing people moving around, so it's like senior writers moving into an EgoBait role and that kind of thing, rather than having to find brand new people completely, which is obviously harder. So
I like the employee training process. What I hate is the follow-up questions. Like whenever we train, we always end up having like one or two newbies, like with an endless amount of questions. You know, they're trying to, I guess, micromanage and make sure they don't screw anything up.
That's what you need your editors for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They take care of them, but editors too. So
yeah, I mean, I think their first. I mean, when someone starts in our team as a freelance writer, their first interaction with us, unless I just forget to pay them and they have to nag me to pay them, their first interaction with us wouldn't be for like at least a year.
Yeah.
Garrett and myself wouldn't speak to them or have any involvement at all for at least a year.
Yeah, I have like my standard. You're enabled. You know, I hired you because I trust you, and you're enabled to make these decisions on your own. And if you make a mistake, we'll address that at that time. And usually that stops it like immediately. But just part of the process.
Yeah. So any of you down in London next week for Digital Elite Day, I'll be there. Be going, obviously attending probably only presentations on the SEO side. So the SEO stream, there's a CRO stream as well, but I've watched too many CRO type presentations where I just wanted to not watch anymore. So I'll leave that to someone else to enjoy. But yeah, I'll be down for getting there late the night before, so I doubt I'll be meeting anyone the night before, but hanging around a little bit until at least lunchtime on the Friday afterwards as well. So plenty of time to catch me for a drink if you're out and about for the show or just in London generally. Give me a shout on Twitter. And hopefully meet you for a beer.
Cool.
Word up.
And the reason we're doing our show an hour early this week is because I will be on the Market Muse webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going over how to build and manage a team of freelance writers. If you stayed up until 1 o'clock in the morning to watch my presentation on 24 hours of SEO, I did a version of this. But this one will be a little better because I'm awake and not fighting sleep. And I had some extra time to go into detail on some of the subtopics. So you can still sign up. It'll be about 45 minutes starting at 1 p.m.
Cool. Sounds good. I mean, I don't recommend you build your own team of freelancers, but if you're some kind of a masochist or whatever, then Ben's webinar will sort you out.
There you go. So we have a fake review law case.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. with this one that the law seems to be on the side so far of the law firm. They haven't really seemed to get into much trouble over it. I would imagine in the, they're going to say, oh, we can't be responsible for third-party reviews, but the Reuters journalist's take on it seems to be that a lot of these reviews were clearly from members of their own staff that they had and their family members that they'd solicited to leave these potentially misleading, I'll say, to avoid weighing in too much on it, but certainly not random customer reviews or natural reviews that one would expect.
Yeah, I can't ever see third-party reviews being something that the company is going to be held liable for, because that will just destroy review platforms in one swift stroke. But if a company's employee is coming in and leaving reviews as a customer, I definitely agree that's a no-go. With that said, an employee can come leave a review about working at the company. I don't think there's anything
I think
wrong
that's
with that.
fine. Yeah.
But if they're saying they had the experience as in the role of a client and had a great experience, that's obviously something that's gotta get canned.
Yeah, I didn't like the way this was shaping up at all. I mean, especially because there's so many crap reviews out on everything these days. It's hard to find. It's at the point, when you're reading hotel reviews online, you just skim you don't read any of the 5-star ones, you just read all the 1-star ones and try and get a feel for whether they sound plausible, and that'll make your decision on whether you're going to stay at that hotel or not, rather than all the 5-star ones you just assume is either a complete moron that never travels and thinks some really dives really good, or some just fake review.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I do. I always filter for the reviews from worst to best, so I can see what the real nitty gritty is, and I make my decision on that. But I think these user-generated review sites are facing a conundrum. Just because black hats will always figure out a way to game the system, but removing user-generated reviews altogether has its own problems. So we'll see what happens. I don't think government regulation is the right path to fix that, though. That's just
no. It should be just I'm a believer in the traditional British legal system where what should happen is decided in the courts. Like the correct outcome of this case should be discovered. The law should be discovered with precedent in the courts. So I guess if this ends up going anywhere in the courts, then we'll get a view on who's to blame for this. But I definitely think a law firm, I'm not saying this law firm did or didn't, but I think a law firm that was found to have made up a bunch of fake reviews via their staff to cover up their incompetence and bad reviews that they're getting should face some kind of sanction, whether that's from the courts in a case like this or through their bar association. Again, I'm not saying that it hasn't gone that far yet, this case. I'm not saying this firm has done any of those things, of course, but if a firm did do those things, I think there should be some sanction, and one would hope that the courts would find a way to act appropriately to discourage it.
Interesting. We got a couple tweets up here. Both dealing with the new Favicon rules from Google.
Yeah, have you had any success getting any of yours to show up? I don't think we've really played with it yet.
I haven't screwed with it. This is the first time reading about it. I mean, usually when I put up a site, I just do a basic Favicon that's part of our logo. But it looks like these are going to start popping up in the search now. Is that correct?
Yeah, alongside them removing URLs from certain SERPs as well on mobile and stuff. So it's like kind of a give with one hand. I mean, there's another tweet about some of these that are pretty funny. Some of the favicons, spammers are already taking advantage of it.
I did see that, yeah. It looks like
so they're going to scale it to 16 by 16, but they want you to upload one in 48 by 48, but make sure that it scales well to 16 by 16. It's like, why not just let us optimize the 16 by 16 one?
Because they obviously have future plans for the 48 by 48, and they just want that up now.
I know, but they could allow for both.
What's funny is that I've been getting a warning in Search Console about my favicon being too small at 32 at 32.
Yeah, I think it has to be a multiple of 24.
Yeah.
So that's not a valid multiple. It should be 48.
So it's got
I
to get
don't know. I forget what the rules
It's a valid
are.
multiple. It's 1.5.
Yeah, well, I suppose everything's technically a multiple of 24 if you're allowed to, including minus 691.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
But they're only going to be removing the URLs from Google Chrome SERPs, right? It's not. They can't do that.
They can do
everywhere.
whatever they want on every SERPs.
Yeah.
They can just serve them, don't they?
I
But yeah, the next Twitter link was just showing the hilarious spamming. Someone called Christine. Oh God, Christine. She's tweeted out just an image of some pretty hilarious ones.
Yeah, I saw that U-Haul one. It looks like somebody made a logo that looks like the U-Haul logo.
And of course, without the URLs, you can't tell.
Yeah.
You know, well, we can tell, like, because that's, you know, obviously, like the Muscle Movers is in there. It's obviously some kind of affiliate site or aggregator. But your average search user who has been used to just trusting it and seeing what things are and seeing the URL now sees the favicon that they're used to, that they associate with the brand. They click on that thinking it's U-Haul, and God knows what they get. Not criticizing Muscle Movers. They're just taking advantage of Google's stupidity, but seems like it's a bit of a mess at the minute.
Yeah.
Trevor Wilson says, yo. Hey, Trevor.
Hey, Trevor.
Oh.
Thanks for joining the show. So yeah, it seems like a bit of a mess. I feel like the URLs should be in the SERPs. I mean, I want to see what I'm clicking on before I get dumped on it. Especially on mobile, because it's like you can hover over things on desktop and see what's underneath, but on mobile, it's all more of a pain in the ass.
Did you guys get to dick around with the schema for the how-to and the fact stuff yet that we talked about last week?
No, not yet.
All right. That's
we've got like a 2-month lead time on experiments, so if you want September or something.
I hear you. So this Matthew Woodward article came out a little while ago. This isn't new.
He was tweeting it out pretty heavily this week. I think it's because he's redesigned his site and recategorized everything and added to some of his guides and stuff. I just thought this was interesting because he provides you with some filters that you can use in your Google Analytics to see if one of their teams has visited your site.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know how accurate this is because he's just identifying third-party remote worker companies that Google's subcontracting to, and you're just assuming that if you get traffic from that site, you're getting shopped from one of their evaluators. It could be right.
Most of the time, it's going to be right. I mean, yeah. and you're going to be able to look at what they did. Like if it was, like say it was someone, visiting Vin's Crossbow site. And it was a genuine purchaser from one of these companies, they would just act like a normal purchaser. They would click on a couple of products, buy one, or leave. If they methodically go through his contact page, his about page, all the things that the Google Rater guidelines tell them to do, and it's a suspicious visit, you can be more certain because you're going to be able to see what they did on your site when you find the traffic.
Yeah.
So I think Vin's right, though. You can't just assume 100%, but yeah. I mean,
this will take 15 minutes to set up, so you might as well just to have that data whenever you want to take a look. He's got a filter in here so you can get texted on your cell phone anytime they land on your site. I think that might be a little bit much, but
well, what's he gonna do? Like take his site down?
yeah, exactly.
It might be more helpful on. There are hyper-competitive verticals like Payday Loans, pharmaceuticals like Viagra, and stuff like that, where the SERPs are manually reviewed daily, if not more often. And they are adjusted manually because they're so competitive and so spammy, and things can get out of control so quickly.
Yeah.
But still, what are you going to do if you're in the payday loan space and you know they're looking that day?
Well, I mean,
switch to version B, boys.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the biggest takeaway and the biggest actionable item would to be just follow the behavior path of the traffic coming through that site. And if you see a dip in traffic immediately after the evaluation, you have the exact pages you know you need to look at that failed their analysis, and then you can kind of go about figuring out what needs to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, he was collecting a survey for people that find that they got something happen immediately after an inspection. It'd be interesting if he ever publishes like the full data set he collects on that. That would be a pretty awesome study, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it would tell you which things that you've done wrong are clearly going to screw you over. So it's interesting. He talks a lot about the all the kind of EAT stuff again, which people in the drug treatment space have been faking for ages. You know, you just pay someone with a nice title. You know, can we put your name on a few articles? Here's $5,000.
Yeah.
You know, you can read them. You can read them first to make sure they're not dumb. You know, that kind of deal, and then you get to stick their name on a bunch of stuff, and it's kind of worrying. It's worrying on one hand if they're going to trust these sites more, but it's also positive to see in the guidelines that people with genuine life experience are going to be trusted. So like, you know, like 1 Mile at a Time is going to be trusted as a travel blog because he's done enough travel, not just, you know, only travel agents get trusted that are licensed ABTA agents or whatever. Because I'd imagine you'd get more useful information from 1 Mile at a Time than you know, like the Thomas Cook website. So obviously has, you know, both of them have their biases,
Right.
But they're more clear when it's a company. Just because they're qualified doesn't mean that they are not going to be spewing nonsense. So,
we got a question here from Trevor. He says, "What are your thoughts on Page Optimizer Pro?" Well, Trevor, from what I hear, it's pretty cool. I haven't used it just yet. I opted to go with Website Auditor, which I've been using for probably like 5 months now. And that has gotten me results using their site audit tool and their TF-IDF tool as well. But from what I heard, Page Optimizer Pro is the shit. You know, you're gonna. My issue with those tools is it's basing its results or its recommendations to you on what sites are ranking that day in the top 10. So if there's a Google shakeup, all the recommendations that they give you are going to change. So you're going to have to run it every time there's a core algorithm update, or if your specific target SERP has some fluctuation. All the recommendations that the POP gave you will no longer be viable, really, or they may have changed. And then there's just relying too much on like an automated strategy. You always have to use your head and just kind of dig into the SERPs on your own and compare what they're suggesting to your own experience with the niche, and then make a judgment call there if you should follow their suggestions or take a different path. But in general, I think you'll get you'll see some improvement using those type of correlation tools. But like I said, I'm using Website Auditor right now. Have you guys messed around with it or not? With POP?
No. We use Garrett's Brain for all of our on-site optimization. It's a little bit slower than the tools. Takes them a bit longer to do a page, but it seems to be going all right.
Yeah. For me, it's like I've kind of segmented all the content on my sites into content types. So you have category page, review page, blog post. And then I just kind of compare that to generally the SERPs for all those content types of my competitors. And then I can have a good idea of what works and what doesn't work. And usually the results from these tools mirror that, but it's when you get like a conflicting result that you got to kind of dig in. And
we do keep a close eye on you. If you start like killing it and like growing at like 8 times the rate we're growing at, then we'll start copying your analytics.
Yeah, we're doing a lot, man.
Has a free 7-day trial with 5 reports. Maybe I'll do that today and see what it says.
Yeah,
there we go. We'll talk more about it next week then. We'll do Then you do a trial too on it and see how it differs to the one you're already using. And
I'm not going to be able to get to that this week, but I will be trying out Pop It at some point in the future.
Cool. All right, we'll all do a free trial then, and we'll review it in like 2 or 3 weeks' time. Once we've got a chance to have a look at it, we'll do it as our product review that week. Give us a few weeks to have a play.
That works. All right, so Zero Hedge. I know this was Steve, so you can
They were all me. No one else put any links up this week.
What's that?
That's true.
No one else put up any links this week. These are all me.
It's a holiday week, man.
Sorry, Kyle.
I had to put this whole show together. That's why it's terrible this week. Ben normally finds something more interesting than me. I just like mess around on Twitter and things that I think are interesting I put on the yeah, so apparently Google has a lot of trouble making their voice assistant work well. So they recruit lots of extremely, I mean, the pay doesn't seem ridiculously low, but it's pretty low for the skill of people and pretty boring that they're making do it. So there's a lot of manual translation, manual, I guess trying to work out the best way to word it, manual interpretation of what commands mean done by workers in a massive sweatshop type operation, instead of it just being an all-powerful AI that can figure these things out for itself. So there's still a lot of people needed to make artificial intelligence at Google still. It made me wonder though, how it is like Siri and Alexa, are they miles ahead of Google and they don't have this? Or did Google just get caught having this massive operation and Siri and Alexa are also really stupid? I mean, really undeveloped so far, and they have these massive operations too, trying to make them work.
I don't know. I think Siri is pretty stupid.
So
I honestly don't use these voice assistants at all. But after reading this, I want to know how involved the human interaction is. Like, could it be as bad as like there's literally somebody like typing in an answer to every question that comes through, or like how much interaction is there for each question?
I imagined it more like if there's a question it just doesn't understand, it goes into some kind of queue for future,
and then a human has to go and answer it for future answers.
Yeah, and people in the future will get it behaving the right way. I mean, my only experience with Alexa is the South Park episode where Cartman falls in love with it. So I have very little, like Vin, I don't use any voice assistants. Or...
Yeah, that's like that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with the artificial intelligence. Yeah, he's a weirdo in the movie as it is, but
yeah, I watched this movie last month with Johnny Depp. I can't remember the name of it now, but
Transcendence.
Yeah. Did you see that one?
Yeah. That's a little different, but
yeah.
that's more of like.
It's a pretty deep question they got there. Is that the real him or not?
Oh, at the end? Well, you can't spoil the movie.
Well, throughout the movie, it doesn't.
Yeah. I watched. There's a couple movies like that. Ex Machina, where the guy builds a robot, a female robot, and then she escapes because she has emotions and she wants to like be free. We could talk about that for hours.
That's why you guys are so tired all the time. You spend too much time watching movies, and then you're trying to fit the work in like with no hours left.
I only watch TV between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Other than that, there's no TV on. But
so that's pretty okay, I guess. That's pretty similar to me. If I watch anything, it'll be around that time after dinner.
Yeah, God forbid I watched a movie last month. Fuck you, Steve.
Oh, look. I mean, Gary Vee says every minute he likes watching it.
All right,
I'm going to send you some Gary Vee videos to watch so that you don't waste time watching things.
I can't stand him.
I know. I can't even watch him anymore now. I found him kind of motivating for like the first month, and then it just kind of it gets a bit stupid if you watch much of it. It's just the same nonsense over and over again. Except now he's trying to sell you trainers, like these really awful trainers with writing on for some reason. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it's all just gone downhill in the Gary Vee universe. Unless you really like bad trainers, in which case get in on the action and some good stuff going on.
If I ever run into Gary Vee, I'm going to waste my 15 seconds of Gary Vee time by having him record a video asking you to stop talking about him. And that'll put a nail in that coffin for good. But the other obsession, our rant of the week, is actually not Rand this week.
Yeah, well, look, Rand's Twitter was just too crazy this week. I couldn't take it. Like I was scrolling through it, and I thought we'll share something good that he found. And one thing he does really well on his Twitter is he's much better at me at finding random things of interest in the SEO world. So obviously shout out to Brittany Zer, who actually found this and tweeted it out. So Google is returning as the featured snippet for how to make the best risotto, a list which on the site is the list of things not to do when making risotto. So here's how Google thinks you should make the best risotto. Use cold stock. Adding chili stock to a hot pan will cool everything down and mess up the cooking process. Step 2, stir it constantly or not at all. Step 3, add too much stock. Step
Too much
4,
is always the way to go.
Too much is always the way to go. Step 4, cook the rice till it's mushy in a very wide pot. Definitely cook it on too low a heat. Cook the vegetables with the rice and add the cheese too early.
So what was on the actual page? It must have just been like a strike through.
This was a list of things not to do as part of their tips article about.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would imagine a direct response about this from Google. That's pretty embarrassing.
They've done some more embarrassing things, like the thing with the pictures of the apes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bar Google set for putting stupid things in the SERPs is pretty low. So yeah, I'd imagine they. I don't know why there isn't more manual checking of this. It's such a big budget, but there should be just thousands of people whose job is to find these kind of things and make sure it's working.
I would assume that was already like a light bulb that popped up over their head that we should audit our new tool rollouts to make sure that they're working properly.
I think they rely on community. I think they really are they rely on community feedback and just take the embarrassment. I think they've got to the point where they're so big
where they don't even care about like the perception of this type of thing.
Yeah, I don't think they care anymore about anything. Like people aren't going to stop Googling things now. They've reached that scale. Until something else comes along that replaces search as we know it, I think it's going to be hard for Google to lose much market share. So I think they just don't care really as much as they used to. But yeah, the featured snippets are pretty bad in most cases. I mean, I know we covered on the show some ones that I'd found that I thought were amusing, but this is just like not just me making stupid searches that I know Google's going to find difficult to answer because the questions are kind of difficult. This is just a list of how, like, it should be able to tell how to make a good risotto and how not to make a good risotto, lists apart. And you think this page that had multiple lists on, it would have some kind of way of knowing it's confused about which is the right list and just pick a different page and give something else the featured snippet. It just seems silly to me.
Yeah.
So that was the rant of the week. If you want to read the rest of Rand's Twitter feed, he has an argument with UK SEO about whether the UK SEO is being too argumentative on Twitter in the most over the top response to someone questioning him slightly I've ever seen. He brags that more women follow him now. Just all kinds of fun stuff. But I just didn't want to make that the round of the week because it was all just too silly.
Yeah.
I know I pick a silly one for the round of the week often, but it's when it has to be funny, not just stupid. If Rand's just being kind of a bit weird, then it's not very funny. So I left them all out and thought, we'll give him a shout out for finding some pretty good stuff now and then on Twitter and have a good round of the week this week. So thanks for retweeting this one, Rand, and thanks Brittany Zer for sharing. That's pretty cool.
Cool. So next one up is written by my buddy Steve.
Yeah, so thanks to the chaps over at RankXL. Invited me on for a guest post, and I wanted to write about something I hadn't covered before, which is kind of hard when I only really pay attention to link building. And we wrote, just 2 years ago, like our entire link building process for what we were doing at the time on Builder Society. And the only thing that we're doing a couple of new things. We're making better link baits, so we're doing them animated and stuff like that. But the only really new thing we're doing for clients that we weren't doing back then is focusing a lot more on EgoBait, which I did mention a little bit in the guide on Builder Society, but we weren't doing it at the kind of scale we can do it now. And so I thought that was a good opportunity for me to share basically our entire EgoBait process with you guys. And the reason EgoBait's so good, and for those of you who haven't done any, it's basically just whenever you make a piece of content where the purpose of the content is to have the people you mention in it somehow share it. So whether that's a roundup, whether that's a top list of best feminist SEO bloggers, where Rand would obviously be number one. Whatever you're doing a list for, you're backing up people's opinions about themselves in a way that makes them want to share it. So you're going to try and give them awards for things that they think they identify as. So Rand would think he would definitely deserve to be on the top 10 feminist SEO bloggers, so he wouldn't be surprised to win. You don't want to give people awards for things that they're surprised to win, or where they're listed alongside people they don't want to appear alongside. But you can do it in every piece of content you do. You could do a mini expert roundup and have your writer reach out to 5 experts, quote them in the article and let them know. And if you pick carefully experts that have a press page or a page where they share wherever they get mentioned, 1 in 5 is going to link. So every blog post you do gets a free link. And you can do the same with video content, audio content, your podcast. Loads of ways you can play to people wanting to get mentioned and wanting to participate in things, as well as just obviously giving awards out and stuff like that. So I cover it all off in here. EgoBait's super cool. It's stuff that you can all do on your own site. Obviously, if you want it done at scale and you just want to hand it over to us and let us get cracking, we can do some pretty big campaigns for you. But if you just want to mix this into your day-to-day strategy, at the end of the year, there's no reason why every site that you're working on can't have an extra 20, 30 links that you didn't really do that much work on compared with your normal link building. So it's a really nice thing to mix into your link building mix. And hopefully I covered it pretty well. I don't know.
I honestly just got to skim it. I didn't realize that you mentioned this last week, but I didn't realize it was going up on RankXL.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, for an EgoBait campaign like this, from start to finish, from creating the content to obtaining the links, how much time are you spending on it?
I mean, it depends on the campaign, but if you went minimalist on it, like you didn't bother designing an overly fancy page, because we obviously spend a lot of time on that. If you just put up a really nice list on your site and laid it out nicely in Thrive themes or Divi or something like that with some nice images, you could probably get the list done in like 4 or 5 hours or something, and that's going to get you between 1 and 5 links.
Cool.
So your links per hour is pretty good for people that are money poor and time rich, because you can really just grind these out.
Nice.
And then obviously the thing with your writer, if you're quoting 5 experts per article, they're going to have to reach out to and I suggest LinkedIn. You get a lot more replies on LinkedIn if your writer connects with them and reaches out on LinkedIn. You're going to reach out to maybe 15, get 3 to 5 quotes back, but it's no time. It's like 20 minutes per article. So, and that's going to be, that's 1 link for 20 minutes. So across the board and all of these strategies, your time per link is going to be lower for most of you. I mean, it's probably not lower for us by much, because everything's optimized for our outreach process. So we're not getting the links, massively less hours per link than all of our other stuff. It's just slightly better. But for someone who's not, you're not pumping the links out easily through outreach, you're going to find this is a much easier way to start getting some extra links in. And the roundups still work really well in non-marketing spaces. Like a lot of the top people are kind of fed up with them in SEO and marketing, but if you're not in the SEO space for your money site, there's loads of people that are going to be able to, you're going to be able to get quotes from, and they're going to want to take part in roundups and give their opinion and link to it and share it. So it's still an effective thing if you're not in one of the spaces where it's overdone.
Cool.
And we've done it in travel recently, which is a space where it's really overdone, and we still got some good links out of it. So you can still make it work even in some of the spaces where it's a bit more overdone.
Interesting.
So sure. Easy links for you boys. Check out my article and enjoy some easy links. And then if you want loads more of them, give us a shout and we'll take care of that for you.
Cool. And it looks like we got one more. Wow, this LinkedIn, 1 year after starting the SEO campaign, this website makes £144,000 in passive income.
Yeah, for the client.
I mean, the thing I found with it was they actually built quite a lot of links. I mean, like,
no, they
did they not? Are they all?
So, I mean, I took the time to look this morning. Whenever this guy took the screenshot in Ahrefs, supposedly, I think he said they had like 500 links or something. 416. As of today, Ahrefs only has 294 indexed, which is whatever. I'd say about maybe 20% of what Ahrefs has found as far as links would be worthwhile. The rest of these are pretty dog shit. I'd say 80% of these, not using DR as a metric, but 80% of these are under like DR15, with a vast majority being less than DR5. So we're really getting into the point of talking about the effectiveness of any of these links. Plus, I don't quite think it's plausible to get a site from 0 to probably 500,000 hits, because we know Ahrefs traffic estimates usually about half on the big end. Going from 0 traffic to 500,000 hits in 1 year, and let's assume that their 300 links were actually great. I think it's pretty obvious that they're using some really well done PBMs behind the scenes. I'm not quite sure if this guy was supposed to be making a case study for himself.
He was trying to prove that content matters more than links, and his assertion is that this content is so good that.
Oh, so this is Chase Rayner, just disguised as somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think the topic of the site is very traffic heavy. I mean, celeb tatler, it's loads of gossip, and I mean, we've seen that on one of our own sites. When we put an article up about a celebrity, it gets traffic. It's just obviously we have like 3 of those articles instead of the whole site being about it. So maybe we should all do more celebrity articles as part of our content strategy. It's definitely something that I was thinking about after reading.
His argument is pretty poor that good content is what's boosting this site. I invite you to go to one of the articles and copy paste one of the paragraphs into Google, and you can tell that it's rewritten from about 20 other.
Yeah, I've just through word agents, I've seen people take really unique angles on these celebrity sites, like celebrity net worth, just a directory of the net worth of every celebrity. Celebrity weight loss, like, celebrities that lose a massive amount of weight, their weight loss plan that they use to lose the weight. Like sports guys, like guys that, they're sports stars, they make a ton of money, but, as an athlete, your career is short. So I've seen websites that talk about the business ventures that these guys do after being an athlete. So I think, there's money to be made in the celebrity niche, but you have to niche down to really dominate.
Yeah.
Well, I think our site, without going into it specifically, has a nice niche that combines with celebrity. So given that our existing pages are doing well, it might be a nice easy traffic source for us to do more celebrity stuff. I imagine there's loads of niches where you can stick up some celebrity gossip type things, like celebrity crossbow hunters for Vinsight, for example.
In my niche, there are products that are apparently made by the celebrities. Obviously, they're just getting paid to attach their persona to it. But there's definitely that social proof.
Not carving those crossbows out by hand, then. No?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Cool. I think that's it, right? I don't mean to rush this. You have this SEMRush.
Yeah, I've not been enjoying the SEMRush API.
Yeah, you're putting it nicely compared to what I'm reading right now.
Yeah. I was in a very bad mood at 2 a.m. yesterday. I mean, it's great that they give you some API access with the standard subscription. That's something that Ahrefs is super lame about. Really, really lame that you can get API credits that you can only use on an approved tool made by a third party. You don't get to use your API credits just to grab a quick bit of data. And, when it's the amount of data you can get, you can just have some cheap virtual assistant grabbing it for you, and it's going to cost you like $100 for all the data you need. And they want $500 for you just to get it quickly from the API. It's just silly that they haven't got a lighter package. But anyway, that's Ahrefs and their usual nonsense. No, I'm not going to like Ahrefs ever again, particularly after they made a complete mess of domain rating. Like, look at Moz. Like, we hate on Moz sometimes, but they added all those extra links to their link graph, and they kept DA meaning roughly the same. They completely adjusted how they measure spam, and DA is basically like DA20 means the same through all of these changes. It's roughly in the same place on the scale.
Yeah.
Ahrefs couldn't fix their thing once without making a complete mess of everything. So,
I think with all these tools, specifically Ahrefs, SEMRush, and Moz, they all excel at different things. And I think the one that has the most tools that excel the best is Ahrefs. As far as their link graph, I think Moz has a much bigger and better link graph. But just from a tool aspect, I really like Ahrefs. SEMRush I like, but I feel like that their pricing doesn't match the benefit of their tools. Like, they're giving you all this other shit, like good blog content, good webinar content. They market like the most out of any of these tools. But I just can't justify the cost compared to what I'm getting from their tool set.
Yeah, we just have to have them all because different clients like different tools. So
yeah.
But yeah,
Majestic I haven't even used in 5 years. I couldn't even tell you how Majestic works anymore.
Yeah, well, it's just all these made up numbers that the clients like, basically. Majestic.
Yeah.
I don't put any real trust in their trust rank, etc. I think it's just more made up nonsense. I mean, the more you get to making up numbers that have nothing to do with anything Google has ever publicly told you, they definitely do. And the way they do it, the more you get into a number that's just completely
nonsense
made up. Yeah. But anyway, people like it, and I'm happy to play with it if you like it. But yeah, so their API delivers the results in a CSV format. I'm like, it does what? So yeah, that's really weird. Like, where's your JSON? Like, just strange. And it doesn't aggregate things nicely. You end up using billions of credits if you want like the aggregate. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. So we're just going to minimally use it. Just use the US thing and put up with the one line of CSV nonsense. But I haven't enjoyed that it's going to take me a couple of hours to code what I want when I was expecting it to take 3 seconds to just pull the JSON and dump it into our database. But
yeah,
it is what it is. I'll spend 2 hours tonight and get it done, or tomorrow.
There you go.
But yeah, kind of a weird API. But yeah, definitely SEMRush has some cool data, so it's probably going to be worth persevering. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing that it was so retro.
Yeah.
I kind of figured it was going to be amazing, and then I was like, oh, this is a bit weird.
The other thing I'm doing is, have you read any of Kevin Indig's interlinking or internal link guides and how he's approaching that?
Yeah. I haven't, no.
I'm going to be doing this, which is from a non-coders or non-developer standpoint. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me. let me see if I can find the article quick. The internal link.
Balance your tie rank, man.
Yeah, basically he's looking at page rank, tie rank, and your backlinks, and he's creating a new score altogether, which he's calling TIPR. And then based on that TIPR, you look at all the pages on your site that have the highest score, and you basically want to balance all your pages to have as close to an equal TIPR rank as possible. And the theory is that your page juice or link juice is spreading around evenly to the entire site, benefiting the entire site instead of just a few pages.
I rate that theory as plausible. I like it. It sounds.
Yeah. He actually presented it for the first time at Paul's conference, Tech Boost SEO, and since then he's been, I guess, slammed with interview requests because I've seen this presentation done on like 5 different sites, and it's the exact same thing over and over. So I just shared the link in the chat. That's basically everything you need to know. That one link.
And are you going to be doing it with code then? Like
I'm gonna have to pull Jared into this. Basically, you have to run the page rank algorithm on your own, and the same thing with the chai rank or the kai rank. So that's what I got to figure out. And once I have,
I think that I don't know if it's. He has a couple different guys, but one of them walks you through how to do it with Screaming Frog.
Yeah.
You do have to do a little bit of some Python, but.
And I know Paul Shapiro actually put out an article about how to run it with Screaming Frog. So that was what
that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try first. And if that didn't work, I'm just going to go to my default Jared.
No more show, because we're all going to be millionaires by next week when we get our sorted out.
Well, I'm interested in just seeing where my pages are at currently as far as this TIPR rank, as far as which pages are getting the most love, which when they maybe shouldn't, and which ones are being ignored when they shouldn't be. As far as implementing it, I think there's going to be a little bit more common sense stuff than just a strict, balance everything out. But it should be a good exercise regardless.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth doing. Sounds like a good, especially because the decay, the linking doesn't happen anymore, so you can spread it around more effectively. Like we used to decay aggressively because Google couldn't handle looping page rank and things like that originally in the first version of it. So they used decay as a way of getting around being too easy to manipulate on that.
Right.
But they don't need to anymore. I guess they've improved the algorithm since then or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was like a decay of 15% or something like that of your link juice or link power or whatever you want to call it. That was back in the day. I could see it being much different now.
Yeah, well, they've said it's much different, and when they actually answer things, I tend to believe them. When they say, when they give one of their non-answers, which are really vague, confusing, and worded obtusely, then you know that they're deliberately not answering. But I don't think they've never been caught straight up lying. Anyone on the senior PR positions at Google, so I think reasonably believe them if they give a straight answer, which they did in that case. That the decay was no longer needed to make page rank work.
All right, I think that's a wrap, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. I made it the whole hour. So we'll be back next week at our normal time, 12 o'clock. And if you guys have any time today, in about an hour, I'll be on that Market News webinar if you want to come and hang out with me again. Otherwise,
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Nobody wants to hang out with this guy for too long. All right, that's it. See you guys next week.
See you guys. Bye.
Adios. Bye.